All right, we are going to review scaling, multiplying fractions, fractions as division, and dividing fractions today and tomorrow, because when you come in on Monday, you're going to have tests that cover all of that. So that's why we're going to review it. We did some of it before Thanksgiving break, and we did some of it after Thanksgiving break, so we're reviewing all of it. So we're going to do problems 1 through 18 on this worksheet today. You need to write down the problem with the answer, and then tomorrow there will be a video doing 19 through the end of it, which I think is like 34 or something. 43, sorry, 43. All right, so the first one. Roger has 4 gallons of orange juice. He puts the same amount of juice into each of 5 pitchers. How many gallons of orange juice are in one pitcher? So he's got a big jug of 4 gallons, and he's splitting it into 5 pitchers. So that is a division problem. He's going to take the 4 gallons and split it into 5 pitchers. So that's 4 divided by 5, which is the same thing as 4/5. So each pitcher will have 4/5 of a gallon. All right, number 2, Kathy is riding her bike 1 3/5 miles to her friend's house. She has already traveled 7/8 of the distance. How far has Kathy already traveled? She hasn't traveled the full 1 3/5. She's traveled 7/8 of that distance. So now we're going to multiply, since of means multiply, we're going to multiply 7/8 times 1 3/5. When we multiply with a mixed number, we have to get mad. So 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 more is 8. That's 8/5. 7/8 does not change at all. And we're going to multiply straight across. All of this work needs to be either on this paper or on scratch paper. So 7 times 8 is 56. And 8 times 5 is 40. That is an improper fraction. When we convert it, we get 1 16/40. 16/40 can be simplified by 8. So we divide them both by 8. Our whole number stays. 16 divided by 8 is 2. And 40 divided by 8 is 5. So she has already traveled 1 2/5 of that distance. Number 3, Tia walked 1/2 mile in 5 minutes. She walked at the same rate for the entire distance. How far did Tia walk in 1 minute? So it took her 5 minutes to walk 1/2 mile. We want to know how far she walked in just 1 minute. This is a division problem. So we're going to take the miles and we're going to divide it by 5. We're going to take 1/2 mile and divide it by 5 minutes. So 1/2 divided by 5. Remember, we multiply our whole number in our denominator. 2 times 5 is 10. We started with a fraction, so our answer is a fraction. She did 1/10 of a mile in 1 minute. We're going to do 7, 8, and 9 because they're already on the screen. Feng has a piece of wire that is 1/6 yard long. He cuts the wire into 2 pieces so that each piece is the same length. How long is each piece of wire? So he's taking something that's 1/6 of a yard long and splitting it, cutting it into 2. That is division. This is the thing he's splitting. This is what goes first. 1/6 divided by 2. We multiply the whole number and the denominator. 6 times 2 is 12, but we started with a fraction, so our answer is a fraction. Each piece of wire is 1/12 yard long. Nell has 2 1/4 pounds of apples. He uses 2/3 of the apples to make pies. How many pounds of apples does Neil use to make pies? Of means multiply. So we are going to multiply 2/3 times 2 1/4. We don't do anything to the 2/3. We have to get mad with the 2 1/4. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 more is 9/4. We're going to multiply straight across. 2 times 9 is 18, and 3 times 4 is 12. That is an improper fraction, so that is 1 6/12. But 6/12 can be simplified to 1 1/2. So he used 1.5 pounds to make pies. Taylor has 5 yards of gold ribbon to decorate 8 costumes for the school play. She plans to use the same amount of ribbon for each costume. How many yards of ribbon will she use for each costume? So anytime you're using the same amount, that's like equal shares, the same amount. It's equally. She's splitting it equally. So that's division. Is she going to cut it up the costumes and share it with ribbon? No. She's going to cut up the ribbon to make the costumes. Since 5 is the number that's associated with the ribbon, and that's the thing she's cutting, it's 5 divided by her 8 costumes, which is the same thing as 5/8, because that line means divide. All right, now I'm going to move the paper, and we're going to do 4, 5, and 6, and 10, 11, and 12. So Terrence has 2 empty pages in his stamp collection album. Each stamp uses 1/8 of an album. How many stamps can Terrence put on the empty page? So he has 2 empty pages, 1 stamp. Each stamp uses 1/8 of an album page. So he's going to take these 2 empty pages and see how many stamps he can fill in. So it's going to be 2 divided by 1/8. So we multiply our whole number times our denominator. 2 times 8 is 16. We started with a whole number. Our answer is a whole number. So he can put 16 stamps on those 2 empty pages. Sharon drinks 2/3 of 1/2 pint of lemonade. How much did she drink? Of means multiply. 2/3 times 1/2. Straight across. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. But that can be simplified. If we divide them both by 2, we get 1/3. She drank 1/3 pint of lemonade. Deshaun is using 7 yards of wire fencing to make a play area for his puppy. He wants to cut the fencing into 6 pieces of equal length. He's cutting something equally. That's division. What is it that he's cutting? He's cutting the yards of wire, so that's going to have to go first. 7 divided by 6. 7 divided by 6 is 1 remainder 1, so we write that as 1 1/6. Number 10, Shane designed a rectangular mural that is 2 3/4 yards long and 1 1/3 yards high. What is the area in square yards? You should remember from last year that area is length times width. So we're going to take our length and take our width, and we're going to multiply them. 2 3/4, 2 3/4 times 1 1/3. They are both mixed numbers, so we have to convert them both to improper fractions. 2 times 4 is 8, 9, 10, 11 fourths. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 more is 4 thirds. Multiply straight across. 11 times 4 is 44. 4 times 3 is 12. That is improper. We convert it to a mixed number, and we get 3 8/12. But 8/12 can be simplified because we can divide them both by 4. Going into my other problem here. 3 2/3. So her mural is 3 2/3 square yards. Ellie uses a 1/4 pound of apples to make 4 servings of fruit salad. He uses the same amount, that's using something equally, of apples for each serving. What amount of apples does he use for each serving of fruit salad? We're splitting something up and we're using the same amount. What are we splitting up? We're splitting up these pounds of apples he has, this 1/4 pound of apples. So that's 1/4 divided by 4. We multiply the whole number times the denominator, which is 16. But if we start with a fraction, our answer is a fraction, 1/16. Allie worked on his math homework for 2/3 hour. He spent 3/4 of the time solving multiplication problems. How much time did Allie spend solving multiplication problems? Of means multiply. 2/3 times 3/4. And we go straight across. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. But that does simplify to 1/2. So he spent half of his time solving multiplication problems. So what I want you to do now is I want you to pause the video and I want you to work out problems 13 through 18. That's 6 problems. Use what we did together on problems 1 through 12. Apply those strategies. Talk yourself through the problem to see if it's multiplication or division, which number goes first, and work out 13 through 6 through 18. And then when you're done, you can unpause the video. All right, you should have worked all of these out by now. She's taking 6 yards of fringe to decorate banners. So 6 divided by 1/3, she can do 18 banners. This one was a little tricky. He cuts off a piece. He's got something that's 5/8, but he cuts off something that's 3/5 the length of the board. This little oven here means it's multiplication because it says of the board and the board was 5/8. So 5/8 times 3/5, when we simplify, we get 3/8. Number 15, we're taking the time and splitting it up with the problems to see that he spent 3 3/4 minutes on each of his problems. He did 4 problems and he spent 3 3/4 minutes on each one. Number 16, I actually had to put way down here. That's why I have an arrow, because I didn't have any room. So it has the word of. It also has the word square yards. Because if you just read of, then did you multiply 1/5 times 1 or 1/5 times 7.5 or 7 what did you multiply? So first, you had to know that square yards is talking about area. And area, like we previously discussed, is length times width. So the length was 7.5 and the width was 1. So first, you should have multiplied 7.5 times 1, which is pretty simple because we know anything times 7.5, anything times 1 is that same number. So we got 7.5. Now, he doesn't plant, that's how big his whole garden is, but he plants 1/5 of that garden with tomatoes. So this is his whole garden, and he plants 1/5 of it with tomatoes. So we multiplied 7.5 times 1/5. We got mad, we multiplied, we converted, we simplified. 1.5 yards of his garden will be tomatoes. Number 17, she's using 2/5 of the fabric, and the fabric is 5/6 yards long. So we multiply 5/6 times 2/5, and we simplify to get 1/3. She's splitting 5 quarts of apple cider into glasses. She's putting 1/4 of a quart in each glass, so 5 divided by 1/4, she can fill 20 glasses. You can email me if you have any questions. Tomorrow there will be a video for 19 through 20. You can absolutely work ahead if you so choose and do 19 through 20 today.